So let's go through some of the things that have happened in the last two sessions of the D Sanction. We'll start with some notes because it's been a little while since we played, and I want to give you all the details here. So, one thing important to note is the dissolution of the Catholic Church in England is what forced Waltham Abbey itself to shut its doors. And previously, the Abbey had been an important pilgrimage site because it held the Black Crucifix, a holy relic. And part of the original structure of the Abbey was consecrated by Toby the Proud more than 500 years ago, which is why it kind of had been a sacred place, why the Black Crucifix was held there. So anyway, you were contacted by a sort of poltergeist, a ghostly form, Mr. Garland, who informed you that there had been wild beasts attacking travelers on the road between London and Waltham Abbey. And Henry Denny, son of the former groom of the stool to Henry VIII, had asked for help in this matter, and so the powers that be expected results. You began your journey on a rainy morning, and at the end of that day's journey, you stopped at a stone house, which is a protected resting place for Agents of Dee, on the way to Waltham Abbey, and you discovered two things. First, the body of another agent, and some evidence of something very strange. Not entirely certain as to what it was, but you found some sort of dissolving acid, some feathers, some debris. Strange evidence. You continued on the next day, and tired from your travels, when you got to Waltham Abbey, you went directly to the Green Man Inn for refreshments and rest. There you spoke with some of the folks in the common room, including Brian Fleet of the Carnal Guild, who cast suspicion upon his co-worker, Simon Brownstone, for potentially delving into things that he shouldn't. You noted that Simon, was trying to woo a lady, and he had been known to sort of be someone who often wooed the ladies here at the Green Man Inn. So you ended up following Simon with the woman that he'd picked up. He went first to his office, which was the closed down tailor shop on the lower level, and on the upper level, the Colonel Guild. Grabbing raincoats for he and the woman, they went off in the direction of the Abbey itself, and you all followed him there, finding a place to sort of spy upon him in the ruins of the Abbey. You saw him engage in depraved sex acts, and then afterwards, while the woman slept, Simon defiled the altar before finally pulling the woman, who was sort of half awake, sort of half asleep, to her feet and leaving the area. Once he was gone, you had spent some time exploring the grounds, and you were beset upon by an abomination, and a combination of multiple animals that was fearsome and wild, spitting acid at you. You were able to put it down, but not before several close calls. After that, you went and explored and looked at the altar and investigated it more thoroughly, and kind of looked at the markings, which were Greek and Latin in nature, mostly written in blood and shits, a little bit of carving, but it was really superficial markings there done by Simon. And you kind of figured it out to be somewhat nonsensical, as if whatever he's doing doesn't really have much meaning that you can as far as like real supernatural meaning based on your knowledge as Agents of Dee, you considered several options while in the sort of courtyard area in front of the altar. One was to remove the altar stone itself, but after Henry took a look at it, he kind of realized that you didn't have the supplies to take the stone with you. You would need at least like a wagon, maybe a donkey or a horse or something to pull said wagon, or at least a sled of some sort. You couldn't really find the materials to do so. And then you also considered capturing Simon and torturing him for information. In particular, Emma Rose. And Chris, if you could change your name to Emma Rose on the...
I'm literally trying to do that. That's why I've come off cam, but I can't work out how to do it on my phone.
I will do it right now.
Thank you.
Emma Rose, in particular, suggested the modern torture of waterboarding, but also fire, either at his house or at the Abbey, if you could lure him back to the Abbey tonight. After that, you headed back to the Green Man Inn, exhausted from not only a night which involved you combating an abomination, but where Emma Rose spotted something through the lens of the hieroglyphic monad, an eye peering back at her in the room where they hid. And just so much confusion and strangeness that you ended up collapsing and passing out on your straw mattresses that you had previously paid for at the Green Man Inn. And so now I need each of you to make a physical, intellectual, and supernatural challenge, all three.
All right, just a heads up, our child has run off with all of my dice. They're scattered all around this house. So I'm just using the Google dice roller.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm looking in my box.
And if you recall, you roll the die that is the stat that is, and then if you roll a 1 or a 2, you fail, or you falter. It's a fail forward system, though. You falter, and anything else is a success.
I was a bit bashed after last session. I've got an arrow pointing. I know it's probably not relevant now, but it's pointing to unraveling 8. Should that still be there?
Surprise, surprise. I rolled a 2 on my physical and a 1 on my supernatural. Looks like my ones are still happening.
Chris, I don't think that will impact you. Any effects you had left over should be on your sheet marked. So.
Okay. Roll now then. Intellectuals, it's D6. That's a 6. Physicals at D4. That's a 3. And supernaturals at D8. That's a 5.
Okay.
I rolled a 1 on intellectual, 4 on physical, and 1 on supernatural.
Oh, man. Okay. Chris, I'm going to send you a message in the chat here.
Okay. I don't even see where your chat is. Oh, yeah.
Got it?
Well, it popped up and I pressed it, then I can't see it. Just a sec.
Okay. We'll get started here as you're looking that up because it's fine. So Joyce, you failed supernatural and intellectual or physical?
Physical.
And Henry failed supernatural and which one?
Intellectual.
Okay. The three of you have this sort of hazy memory of waking up in the middle of the night, and it feels as though your body is not of your control. You feel compelled and pulled back towards Waltham Abbey, the Abbey itself. It's almost zombie-like move through the town, and it's like a blur. It's like if you've been very drunk or on some sort of drug, and everything is sort of like this kind of flashes. You know, it's a flashes of memory. You don't quite catch the whole details, the whole journey. But you find yourself back in the courtyard, peering through, well, you're not in the courtyard, actually in the building where you were before, peering through the window into the courtyard. And there's this bright, sort of greenish light. And you look out the window and you see that there is this greenish cage, you might say, like a cage of energy. I guess you would sort of describe it as it's sort of flickering and almost like lightning caught on the grounds, but more of a greenish tint. And within, there is this huge being. At first, it almost looks like it's a tree. You look inside because it's sort of growing up from the ground, sort of these twisting roots, but also kind of muscles that almost look sort of wood-like, but they're definitely like muscles. It's definitely a bipedal creature. You kind of catch glimpses of it through the flashing lightning of this cage. And you can see it's a man. He's probably stands about 8 feet tall, very muscular, kind of exudes this sort of power, but he's sort of like flinching as the lightning of the cage is firing around him. And you see behind him is Simon. Simon doesn't even seem to notice this cage. He's behind him, right next to the altar. And you can see Simon is like, you know, he's pulled down his trousers and he's just pissing on the altar. And he's saying these words that, let's see, Emma and Joyce can understand. He's speaking in Latin. Henry, you failed your intellectual, right? Yeah. He's speaking in Latin. And it's some sort of banishment, sort of spell, you might say, that he's speaking. All three of you notice that as you're kind of like just drawn like slightly away from that scene, you can also see like all around the edges, like leaking out from the altar are these like black tendrils, like leaking off of the altar. And you can see them sort of connecting in with movement on the edges of your vision. Joyce and Emma, you see that the movement are like animals that are inexplicably drawn towards like the edges of this area. Like ordinarily they would totally be scared off by this, but you see like all these different animals, and there's these black tendrils that are coming from the altar are reaching into these animals and like fusing them together into these insane shapes, these insane monstrous shapes. And you see, as this is happening, the man who is in the cage, in a voice that sounds like sticks grinding together and the crunching of leaves and wind through the trees, kind of looks up, he notices you in the window. because of the flashing lights. Actually, let's see who we. Supernatural. Wait, in a physical. Joyce, you failed the physical, right? All right. He looks at you, Joyce.
Yay.
And you see, he starts to reach out a hand, and then the electricity of the cage kind of like shocks him. And you hear this sort of voice say, "You must stop him. You must help me.
But
Take
this is
the
just
stone." Emma, you see, however, there is a figure off to the side, kind of inconspicuous in the shadows, like behind the altar, back amongst the broken pillars. You see this figure of a half man, half goat figure, like a satyr. And it's kind of got this smile on his face. And you can see he's like moving his fingers around like this. And as you're looking at that and you see him moving his fingers around, you see like it seems like the electricity is like it's almost as if he's like a puppet master. All right, what would you like to do? You feel like your body is your own again.
But we're still in this environment,
right?
You've described.
Emma, I'm going to let you go first because of the thing I sent you.
I look at the others and see if they've noticed this as well. What I've noticed.
Oh,
Generally.
Joyce, gives an awkward smile.
I say, have you noticed how we don't journey? How we just hear, and things are as they are. Surely we are trapped in some kind of phantom revealing dream. I say. And
Emma, you look as you say that, you look back and you see this fine silver strand stretching from behind you, like into the distance, weaving its way out the doorway from where you came.
Yeah,
and then and then the other two of you notice it as well when he says that.
Like I hold it in my hands and go. And then I'll look.
Well, it's not. Yeah, you like touch it, and it's almost like diaphanous in the way, and it's cool to the touch, and it sort of rolls around in your fingers.
And I point. I go, look. I point at the satyr. Do you see him? I say, and I point precisely at him in the dream world where we're at, and see what the other characters do. As I look at Henry Cole's strong hands.
Okay, so
Joyce saw the wit.
Yeah, Joyce and Henry, each of you make a supernatural challenge.
Another one.
Starting off good.
No,
there.
I'm sorry.
Ooh.
It's a 3. It's a 3.
I got a 3 too.
That's the first time I had a D4 that reads on the bottom instead of at the top.
So you look over and the you catch a glimpse of something, and as Emma described it, it definitely could have been a satyr, but you look and it's not there. Like, did you see something? Did you not? It's like you're not quite sure. It might have just been a shadow, but it feels like you saw something. And just as you look back out, all three of you see the Simon. He kind of finishes up his business. He
Can I ask something quick, Rob?
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit lost. Okay. So it's been a lot for me taking the scene. So Simon is defecating the despoiling the area. But there was a man in a cage, wasn't there, with the lightning, with the satyr? Was that Henry? Was that?
It was the Green Man.
But it was the Green Man, but we don't know who the Green Man is.
You
It's just
might, because you
okay.
have that. Remember, you have that special background thing. You're like part of the order of like the ancient druids or something like that.
Druids of the Eternal Grove. Druids of the Eternal Grove. Yeah.
I'm going to say, since you made all 3 of your challenges, that you suspect that seems like it's an image of the Green Man to you. I mean, plus, like, the name of the inn is the Green Man. There's all this stuff around town, like these old carvings and everything like that. There's like this sort of underlying paganism within the environment that you're of Waltham Abbey. So it wasn't a representation of somebody we've already met, like Mr. Garland, Lord Henry Denny. But it's more likely to be an 8-foot-tall tree man.
Yeah, of the forest, of nature, and the perversion.
Like, he's literally made out of like branches and leaves and like twisting roots and stuff like that. Yeah,
like an ent.
Yeah,
man. Okay, I observe it.
You could see though. So the Simon's chanting, he's getting kind of more wild, although it sounds almost drunken. There's something about it that is like, there's a power in it you can feel. And the cage, the lightning cage, is like getting smaller and smaller. And you can see like the Green Man is like, you know, crouching more down more and more. And as he is, the black tendrils are just like shooting out from the altar, just like more and more powerful, like hitting the animals. And you can see like the animals are growing into these fearsome beasts that are starting to like move towards and into the light, the electrical light, that green light.
Yeah, a clear warning, I say. It can only be a representation of this perversion of nature we've seen. And did we not see a crazy animal that was all about it, strange and odd?
Did it look exactly like what we saw?
Exactly wouldn't be accurate. Like, none of the creatures that are being created by these black tendrils looks exactly like the one that you killed.
But yeah, like clearly we see some sort of crazy but hybrid thing, right?
Yeah, they're like they're animalistic abominations, and so each one is unique.
Okay.
So anyway, let's assume that he made the one we killed.
A true despoiler, not only of his own soul, but of nature itself. I say angrily.
And as that goes, the Simon raises his arms into the air and sort of finishes off. And as he does, he just kind of beats his fist down onto the altar, doing no damage, but he beats his fist down on the altar. He doesn't seem to notice anything that's happening around him, like all this stuff that's happening. And the cage just like implodes, essentially, shrinks down, and there's just this flash of light, sort of half blinding you. In fact, you can't even see anything. Like, there's this white light. It just blinds you from the brightness of it. But you hear the sound of these stalking beasts sort of like rising up all around you from those tendrils. And all of you awake, sweating in the Green Man Inn. Hay like stuck to your head, and like you're coated in sweat, like you have not had a great night of sleep. And Gretchen and Joyce failed the physical challenge. So Joyce,
be the last failed tonight.
Yes, Joyce is sleepless lack of focus and dulled senses, quick to tire. So you have that condition of sleepless. You don't feel like you got any rest. So that will result in a step down in certain circumstances that would result in being sharp and aware.
Yeah, Joyce is normally quite sharp and witty as well and clever, isn't she? Like, it's just a crafty one.
Depends on who's rolling the dice.
But
you find yourself in the room, and you can. It's still raining. The next morning. You can hear the rain coming down in the distance, and even those of you who got rest, you don't really feel like particularly well rested. You feel like,
dearie me, Joyce, if we weren't travelling and upon Dee's work, I would suggest a night of laudanum and a good sleep. So, and I point at like some poppies or something on the side.
Oh, yes. Well, perhaps while I am getting some sleep from poppies and opium, you could go ahead and look through the eye again and see how that feels. Just another time. Let's see. Maybe it'll work this one.
Such omens that we have seen are much to be explored and stopped. For if they are prophetic, then the Green Man himself could be at risk. The crops, the very nature, and the animals in the area could be perverted to such ungodly deeds.
What is the purpose of this Green Man? Why do we need to help him?
Are we not all good Christians here?
Well, I go. Remember, my dad's a vicar, but like I got sent to a nunnery nearly for being naughty, didn't I? So I go and cough like politely. Well, yes, we all have our beliefs in the good way, I say, tempered by those of Dee, who has put us upon this task. I could curse him myself sometimes if I only but knew how.
I think we could all do with a good breakfast, and I get up to go into the common room and get some breakfast if there's anyone cooking out there.
But
yeah.
Before you go, let me just say this: that you asked about the Green Man. I have done some studies upon it, and normally the Green Man is just the representation of life, of nature in the area, and the soul of the magic and soul of nature itself, the animals, the wildlife, the wild places. So that thing that we saw was obviously some kind of supplanting the power of the natural energies of the area and perverting them. We have seen the foes. We fought one, did we not? Henry Cowl, strong hands. Did we not? Did you not bring one low with your mighty fists? Yes, I remember.
I say we just go bash his Simon's head in and be done with it. He seems to be the root of the problem.
I mean, I can't say that I disagree here, but we do have another one of those creatures to contend with, it would seem.
Perhaps when he dies, the power of that beast will go with him.
Yes.
Perhaps.
It would be more accurate to say many beasts. Many beasts in the dream you saw.
Yeah.
They were all about. And what of this satyr, this satyr that is lending its energies, its unnatural ways to this Simon? Maybe the satyr is the root of all this that I spoke of. You could glimpse but see him, but I saw him clearly standing there by the altar.
Emma, make an intellectual challenge.
Okay. 1 sec.
Joyce is going to look away from Emma because she feels like Emma is starting to maybe get a little... Well, she thinks she's batshit. There you go.
What did you say? Supernatural, intellectual?
Intellectual.
Intellectual. Okay, rolling now. Oh, a 3. What does that mean?
That means you passed. It's only a 1 or 2 that's a failure.
Oh, okay.
So you do know something a bit about satyrs from your order, and that would be that you do know they are known as tricksters, and things are not always what they seem when it comes to satyrs.
Hmm. Yes, I remember the whispered tales of the old woman who told me that these things, these satyrs, they are real, but they are often crafty and tricksters of their own nature. Maybe it is linked to a greater plot, or maybe he is the very villain we seek at the heart of all this. But I agree with Henry Strunghans. Maybe the threat, not that I am one to subject people to torture, for I have nearly been there myself under the Inquisition, and it is the job of the church to do such a thing. But we may need to threaten him with such action in order
Someone
for
did
him
say
to
help
confess.
him. I wonder who that was. Was it the satyr who was telling us to help him?
It was the green man was
The
asking
green man
for help.
was asking for help.
Well, I don't know if
As the party pause for a reflection, I'll have a gruel or wherever a breakfast is.
Oh, I didn't mention this actually. Your potential plans of action. I believe Joyce also does remove the altar stone, capturing Simon and torturing him for information either at his house or at the Abbey. And I believe that Joyce had suggested potentially reconsecrating the grounds.
Oh yeah, I can purify. I think I got a purification or something. Was one of my abilities.
I mean, that sounds really smart. So let's say, yeah, that was totally my idea. But 2 months
Yeah.
ago, I don't remember, but it was totally my idea. Yeah.
Let's go do that during the light of day, shall we?
I think that sounds like a plan.
Let me just check my character sheet to make sure that was something I didn't just imagine. Let's have a look. Yeah, I've got diagnosis, natural history, and purification. And warped toes.
Oh, that's
So-
right.
So yeah, we could go back during the light of day.
So do we need any materials for this purification? Do we need to collect some items, Emma?
Well, I would imagine just it is more symbolic. So water is often very important in purification. So some freely running water might be useful. Like that we've collected.
Plenty of that right now, considering it's raining.
So yes, it's not too complicated. It's more to do with the energies that you direct at it, I say. And I fumble like a strange talisman I've got, or a little bone or something, because I'm a bit witchy.
Well, then let's be off and take care of this now.
All right, you pop another.
Yes.
Pop the last bite of sausage into your mouths, and maybe slop up the grease with the end of stale bread. You head out into the rain. And that's not what I want. Switch my playlist here. And you head out into the rain once more. And there's a wind blowing a bit. And it's cold, sort of chilling you to the bone as you move through the muddy street, following a path very similar to what you had traveled the night before with Simon. You can see actually your your prints from the night before sort of filled, making these small pools on the way that you walk, and the stench is sort of following you as you move along. Eventually, moving a bit outside of the main village proper, you can see that there's evidence of the fight that you had the night before with the abomination. You see some of the bones of the creature, but it seems as though they've been picked clean. And you can see some like teeth marks marked into the bones. So you see the area proper. There are basically these three main buildings inside of a low wall. Three main buildings, and you all had gone into the center building to sort of spy on Simon. And then behind that, using these two, I would call them alleyways, I guess, leads to the courtyard where there's a covered area where the altar is. How do you want to approach the place, and what's your plan?
Well, I'm no street wit or clever person in this, so I defer to the middle. Like, I stand to the middle of the group and look at Henry or Joyce expectantly.
I have street smarts. So I would like to use street smarts and deception. I would like to use a combination of that to figure out if I were to travel the safest path to be obscured from prying eyes, and then also figure out if the best path is maybe a deception. Like, am I able to pick up, like, is there something lying in wait?
So you have street smarts and deception?
And burglary.
Well, okay.
That's
you can make...
that's really cool, isn't it? I paused for a second and watched Joyce. She's like going, just looking around, like at the rooms. And
you can make a physical challenge, and
how about intellectual?
All right, if you're doing a scan, I'll give you an intellectual challenge, and I'll give you I would give you a step up, but I'm also would give you a step down because you're sleepless, you're tired, so you're not that as perceptive as normal. So it'll be a straight roll of your intellectual.
I passed.
Right.
Yay.
You do kind of have a sense as to where you would travel in the Abbey to kind of stay out of, away from prying eyes and all of that, if the monastery was still in action. But it's very overgrown, so wilderness skills would serve you better for keeping sort of hidden. That being said, you can kind of like hide amongst the stones and the walls and things like that in a way that if there's human observers, you'll stay pretty well hidden. Figure.
I'll just stick to the dark areas and take out my mace and just ease my way through there.
All right. Well, then we go in the direction that I think would be best.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll let Henry lead the way with the gigantic mace.
Maybe I'll take all the brunt if anything attacks, and you guys can come out and surprise attack it.
Well, and as Joyce has been quite crafty with it, like looking around for humans and stuff, and we've got Henry strong hands to bash stuff. I like my attention maybe drifts across to maybe the copse and the trees around us, and I listen out for any. So I've got natural history, and I listen out for any freaky mad, like unusual animal sounds or anything different to what I'd expect, like absence of sound.
Great idea. Go ahead and make an intellectual challenge, and I'll give you a step up on that one.
I've got intellectual 6. So that steps up to an 8. So I rolled the 8 now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 7.
That's great. It's hard to hear well because of the rain coming down and all of that. But you kind of find yourself underneath a little bit of an overhang, as Henry described it, the dark places, which is your physical location, and progressively more your, well, spiritual condition as well. And you hear some strange animal calls distantly. Definitely strange, out of place. Like, sure, would you hear a rooster? Yes. Would you hear a rooster in deep, thick forest while simultaneously hearing the howl of a wolf? Perhaps not. So you're hearing those kind of things, odd combinations, strange and wild combinations.
I look urgently to Henry then, and Joyce, and I say, I hear strange things in the forests. Quickly, let us move in and purify this place. Even within daylight, it is dangerous.
Let's get on with it.
Yeah, and Joyce doesn't think that's crazy, so sure.
Okay. You move into the courtyard area where the altar is. The altar is underneath an overhang, so it's like somewhat covered, but rain has been falling on it through, holes in the roof and things like that, and just as the wind has changed directions. And what you notice is, like, it's probably been 6-7 hours since 8 hours maybe since you've been here. And, like, really, a lot of what Simon did in defiling the altar is made even more obviously superficial to you as you look at it, because in many areas, like, the piss and shit and blood and everything that's, like, was marked on it just kind of washed off. So, like, there aren't, it almost looks silly now in a way. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really look, it looks childish, I guess you would say. Like, it doesn't look like this is some sort of, like, intricate
No, it seems like he's
ritual.
Yeah. All right. Is there any?
I was gonna say, you can see some of those tools. He had these tools that he was using to, like, apply shit and blood and all that. And you can see there's, like, a couple of scratches in the altar here and there, like, where maybe he got a little bit lucky, but for the most part, it's pretty much, I mean, it's worn down from time, but it's smooth from time. But go ahead, though, Joyce. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I mean, knowing that, can my street smarts or deception or burglary kind of help me look beyond what he has been doing to see if there's some greater hint or clue or object that could be causing this?
No, but the hieroglyphic monad could.
Oh, shit. All right, I'll give it a go. So I'll raise up my hands and do the funny symbol that you're now doing for me.
I believe it's like this.
Sure. Okay.
Ringed forefinger and thumb with digits extended, steadied atop an upturned sign of the horns. So that would be like this, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Or is the horns like this? It's like this, right?
Like this, yeah.
I mean, I'm like heavy metal in it right now.
Yeah.
So. And then you look through it. Go ahead and make a supernatural challenge.
Oh, awesome. This always goes well. All right, let's see here. Oh, I got a 5. I passed. Yes.
You glance through the monad, looking for a glimpse into the world beyond. And as you do, and you look at the altar, you just see this like heavenly light emanating off of it. This sort of power of this goodness. Like you just feel this energy of, God's power, the power of the angels sort of just coming off of it. And I don't know how emotional Joyce is, but the emotion sort of catches in your throat. Like you have to sort of hold back from tears because you feel this like overwhelmingly positive emotion coming from the altar.
So it's totally obvious that this does not need to be re-sanctified because there's nothing wrong with it.
Doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it to you.
All right, well, I'll turn to my companions. I don't know that we need to re-sanctify this. This is, I believe, our issue is coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, perhaps they're projecting themselves from another place and just fooling us.
Well, yes. Yes, as we see, the spoilage on the altar is maybe not as efficient as we first thought, and Joyce seems to be having some kind of revelation there through the monad. I say, looking over.
Well, some of us don't cling to our supernatural superstitions.
I'm just thinking the warning leads us back into the forest and the area around it. What with the satyr and the green man. What think ye? Should we leave this ritual then and confront Simon? Or should we look about?
I think it's time we talk to Simon.
Then let's have at it.
Okay. So you head back into town?
Yes.
Right, you trudge along through the muds. And Emma, you can't help but notice the strange sounds. The other two aren't particularly naturally inclined, so they hear animal sounds, but they're just kind of part of the background noise. But for you, Emma, now that you've noticed it, it just seems off to you. But soon you start hearing the sounds of the town beyond, and it doesn't really worry you quite as much because you're able to hear normal things happening.
Well, as we walk, I relate this. I go, "Did you hear it then? A wolf with a rooster." And I say things like, "Gosh, surely when we confront this Simon fellow, we must beat upon him some sense to reveal to us what is in this woods and how we might defeat it. For I am sure that it is a creature lurking within, or creatures. And maybe this Simon, rather than put him to the fire, when we do accost upon him, maybe we should try and convert him to the work of Dee like us. Maybe he should suffer a similar fate. Maybe he has some use beyond this thing that he has become. What do you think?
Whatever gets me
Joyce-
out of this, I'm for it.
Joyce says nothing. I
I'm ready
mean, she's not exactly happy about Simon, but you know, this whole servitude to Dee is not exactly the way she would choose to spend her life. So
Yep.
forcing others into it just doesn't ring well with her.
Right, so you see up ahead the shuttered and boarded up tailor shop, atop which is the charnel guild on its upper levels. Simple signs painted to indicate as such. The tailor's sign, or the old kind of boot from the hanging sign, is long gone. Faded, and you can barely see anything of it. The rain does let up though, and you're able to now kind of walk without getting wet, although you're still trudging through the mud. I mean, it looks like a closed and abandoned place, although you did see Simon Brownstone head in here last night, grab his coat, and head out. You can presume that perhaps he crashes here or lives here.
So basically, he only came to this place briefly to come here, crash, and then go back out. But other than that, he was at the Green Man on the pull, wasn't he? Did he return with and then he went from the Green Man directly to the Abbey with his paramour or whatever, the lady he had selected. It might be that, has he seen us now? I'm just trying to think, if he doesn't return here, we might have to catch him at the inn and trick him out. But if he's already seen us, he might be on to us.
He has not. As far as you know, he hasn't seen you at all. The closest he came to seeing any of you was Joyce, who kind of saddled up next to him at the bar at the Green Man Inn, but he paid her no mind, instead staying focused on the woman that he was trying to woo, and his back was basically directly to her. So he didn't see her. I mean, he might have caught a glance of the others of you, but the Green Man was pretty crowded when he was in there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Well, Emma, do you think you can keep your insightful mumblings to yourself to attract his eye? Perhaps we can lure him out with female charms.
Maybe two is better than one. He fancies his luck. I say, ha ha ha. Surely, if we both approach him, it is a debauchery beyond what he's gone already. Two ladies and a gentleman would surely tempt him back to the Abbey, and there, Henry Stronghans could wait and accost him.
You know, I believe he probably likes a meeker opportunity than two women, and you might have a better time of that. Not to say you're...
I am the vicar's daughter, after all, I say.
Oh, you are. That would be quite the prize. Here, allow me to help you. And Joyce reaches over and starts like fixing her hair and pinching her cheeks to rouge them up a little bit.
I like to flap her hands off a bit.
You're essentially I'm going to just say, for narrative purposes, you're kind of standing in front of the Green Man underneath the overhang. I mean, you're at the town square. It's not a lot. This is not a big town, not a big village. And and so you can see the tailor shop, just down from where you stand right now. And
Now have at it, Emma. You'll do just fine. We believe
Well,
in you.
I don't really know much about the company of men, I say. But I suppose that does make me meek then.
Even better, even better. If he senses your freshness to the world, then
Just bat your eyes and compliment him.
Very well.
Works.
So you're
Works
so
for
Henry's in
and
on
if,
so okay. Are you going to
yes,
wait
and
and ambush him then? Where should we ambush him? At the Abbey or just outside the inn?
I mean, it's the morning.
me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's maybe we can say it's like 9 or 10, but it's still the morning.
Maybe we should still try and gather some evidence from his house then first. Before we try this end trick at the night. Just try to get some condemning facts. And
I
like
think
you're
it
the
might
most
be good to go in and introduce yourself first, so then he thinks about you for the day and how he might woo you.
What does he do for a living?
He's ostensibly
Isn't he a
works for
gravedigger?
he works for the Carnival Guild, but Brian Fleet, the man who's his co-worker, was complaining that he never shows up for work or does anything anymore, and that Brian's having to do everything essentially. And he also owns the tailor shop, but the tailor shop looks like it's all boarded up. And
let's break in. Let's break into the tailor shop and then I'll woo him later. Bet you he's got some mad shit in that tailor shop.
How does this go from us, from you doing some of the work to me suddenly doing more work?
Well, I will be doing my work later when he's about at the inn. But he's not here now, is he?
Oh dear, you will not be doing any of the heavy lifting here, let's be honest.
I'm quite happy to sit in the inn all day looking pretty, Joyce, if that's what you want me to do.
I mean, Joyce doesn't seem too put off by this idea because Emma's been ranting so much. And Joyce is definitely being a little bit more lively than usual. So she's definitely up to something here. Well, Emma, I understand. I'm sure you don't necessarily feel that you are up to task here, and I'm sure that if all three of us just go to Simon's locations where he frequents, then I'm sure none of us would be available to keep him occupied if he were. Emma, just go keep him occupied, and Henry and I can go assist and in looking for items and clues at his places of residence and businesses.
Right then. So I'll lurk about and try and stop him if he comes anywhere near.
Yes.
And you lot are going to break in and look for.
Yes, and remember, smile, be charming. Perhaps don't talk about how crazy it is that there's a rooster and a wolf being pals out in the forest.
Yes, smile, I say, and I'll try and smile. It just looks like the razor blade slit.
and do attempt to bat your eyelashes and push your breasts up, please. That is embarrassing.
I like lift up my brocade a bit. Well then, good luck. And I stalk about the town gently, gracefully, and then go into the inn and look around for him generally while they players. But I stayed close to the tailor shop while they bust in initially, in case he turns up.
All right,
That's
so
what we're doing.
Yeah, so yeah, describe exactly, because what are you precisely doing?
All right, well,
in the
I
middle
guess
of the day?
So first, all right, so he owns the tailor shop, which is not open.
Right, it doesn't look like it's been open for quite a while. It's all boarded up and everything like that. I mean, it's adjacent to other buildings and stuff like that, so it's not like it's like sitting in the middle of nowhere. You know, it's a 2-story building. There's a number of buildings along this sort of center square area on either side. There's basically a muddy track down the center of the road here, and there's a couple of alleyways that go here and there.
Does an alley run? Okay, so it goes to either side of his store. Well, then Joyce will absolutely will gather her skirts in her arms because it's muddy and she's to be a proper lady. And also make it seem like perhaps she would need some tailoring, and start walking the perimeter of the tailor shop. Is it all boarded up? Are there signs of any footprints? Does it seem like anything has been more recently used than the store implies?
Check your luck, which is essentially a 50-50 chance. So go ahead and you flip a coin.
So I rolled a 2. So is that up to you? Tails?
Well, why don't you call heads or tails before you do it? And heads is even. Heads is odd and tails is even.
Excuse me. Okay, so you said heads is even, odds? Heads is odds.
Sure.
Okay, well that bonked up. Okay. I rolled an even. Did I call one out? I didn't call one out.
No, you gotta call it out before you.
You know what? I'm doing the best I can, Rob. You're getting as much sleep as I am. All right, I'm gonna say tails. So even is tails.
Good luck.
It's heads.
Yeah, everything seems to be boarded up. Like all around. There's some windows. There's a back door. The back door's not boarded up, but it's locked. I mean, it certainly is less. There's nobody milling about.
Oh. Okay. Well, I am just trying to find the tailor, so I would be more than happy to. I will walk up to the door
alley
and feign kind of knocking on it and looking a little impatient while listening to the door. Like, do I hear anything behind it, perhaps?
Make it an intellectual challenge, and I'll give you a step up because all of your larcenous abilities.
I got a step. Oh, so wait, I roll a D10 instead of a D8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I still failed.
You don't hear anything.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling pretty confident about not hearing anything, so I'll just start to push at the door.
It's locked.
Of course it is. Henry, the door is locked. What do you suppose we should attempt next?
I mean, you could try to break into the door. Broken door.
I do have a small tool kit with pliers and tweezers, and I handed it to her. Make use of these.
Want to use your burglary skill?
Yes, I do.
All right, this is a physical challenge. I'll give you a step up.
By the way, and I grab her dresses and I rip them. Now you have an excuse to visit the tailor.
Joyce is not very happy about this because anybody who isn't a tailor probably doesn't know what they're looking at anyways, and now her dress is ruined.
Not ruined, it's just ripped.
No, we're not, it's not like we're rolling in dough here working for D.
I didn't want you to
Um,
be caught off guard without an excuse.
I am fairly certain that I can work something out. Henry, perhaps we could have, I don't know, destroyed your coat?
Perhaps.
And by the way, it's very improper to grab at a woman's dress.
Yeah.
Okay, so was physical, you said?
And you get a step up.
Oh, I can't wait to fail this one. Let's see. Oh, I passed.
All right, taking advantage of Henry's tools, you manage to saw through what you perceive to be a little lock on the other side. You figure you can now open the door. You kind of look either way down the alley. You see someone rooting through some slop, but they're just a beggar.
Does it smell bad when the door's open? Does it smell bad? Does it smell musty, as if no one has been here?
Well, it smells like shit everywhere right now in this particular time period. So it smells horrible, but it smells probably less bad inside of the house. It does smell musty, but compared to the shitty street smell of modern of Elizabethan era England,
Of chamber pots being emptied into the streets. Yes.
And trash being thrown out the windows and
Chamber pot. What luxury is this?
I know, right? We just piss in the alley.
Bum out the window. Yes.
Well, I am playing the innocent card here, so I guess I'll just go in.
All right. You pop in, and the dark room, light. The only light coming, there's no lantern lit or anything, but the light comes in from outside as the clouds have broken a bit, and you're getting a little bit of sunlight from the morning. A little bit of light shines in. You can see a couple of work tables with some, rolls of fabric, dusty rolls of fabric, threads. Spools of threads, scraps everywhere, kind of in piles, very messy, some patterns here and there. And then it looks like it continues further, there's a archway, I guess you could say, continues further on into the next room. It's I should say a doorway without a door leading into a room beyond.
How, with my street smarts or burglary, can I sense if there's anyone or thing present?
Can you sense if anyone is present? It doesn't look like anybody has been back here in a very long time.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess I will continue in. And do I recognize anything that could have come from that I might have seen in the dream? Are the walls the same? Are there rafters or exposed beams that kind of mimic the thing, like what we saw?
The dream you had was you were in the Abbey. So this is this guy's house. So this is Simon Brownstone's house.
Okay. Well, so wait, his house is boarded up? We're at his shop.
Yeah, the shop. Well, it's not his house, but this is where he lives now.
Oh, okay. So he very easily could walk in on us. Let's hope Emma's doing her job.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I will start being the proper burglar that I am and start looking around for clues or answers or anything that would be stand out to me.
All right. Make it an intellectual challenge. I would give you an advantage here, except for that you're sleepless. So we'll call it a straight check.
I passed.
All right. So you start moving out of the room that has clearly not been, occupied in quite some time. And there's a large sort of front room, which would have been, where he would see customers. You can see a couple of there's a couple of basic looking wooden mannequins, and there's another table. But more importantly, you see there are some piles of fabric, and underneath some furs are lying, and you can see them just through some cracks of light coming through where it's boarded up in the front. There's two figures lying in a somewhat of an embrace on the floor near the front door on the opposite side of where you entered, basically.
Are they alive?
Take a second, let your eyes adjust. Yeah, it looks like they're breathing. Can't really see their features too well. But it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to assume this is Simon and the woman that he took to the Abbey last night.
All right. Well, knowing that there are others here, I think I will back out. But as I'm backing out, is there anything that kind of catches my eye?
Yes. Because you made your intellectual check. You see I don't want to call it a child size, because child size wouldn't be exactly right, but there's a mask, you see? And it looks like kind of like the Green Man that you saw, that figure. But it's like a leafy face mask. It's definitely older, though. Like, it doesn't look like it's new. I'm not talking ancient old, but I mean like maybe like a decade or two old. Like it's not brand new,
Do I get the feeling that it's made for a human?
It does look like it's made for a human. But like for like somebody with you might presume that it would be for like a child.
Would it be easy to
not like a baby, but like a child? Yeah, it's like laying right there on like the little side table. There's like some herbs and stuff there too, and like a few plant sprigs and things like that, but it's the mask that really draws your attention.
Does it seem like it's in a position that I could scoop it up without there being any sort of noise?
I mean, if you're careful.
The way I'm rolling. Would that be a physical roll?
It would be.
And with my tiredness,
I wouldn't say your tiredness would affect this one. I would actually give you a step up for your burglary.
All right, screw it. I'm gonna try to scoop it up.
Hang on. Do we get haven't we got fortune, Robbie? Don't we have a fortune stat or something?
Oh yes, reroll once per adventure, so I could fail twice.
Joyce already did it last time. She already used her fortune.
Oh, well, I'll try it. I'll try to scoop it up.
I think Henry still has his fortune.
I still
Emma
have mine.
used his on session 1. No, Joyce used hers on session 2.
I did?
No, Joyce used hers on session 2.
I did?
Yeah, it was for, I don't know, I was editing the session and I heard you use it. You used it for, it might have been maybe when you were fighting the monster thing.
Oh, when I cast Decay.
Maybe. Yeah, it was something you did. You used it.
All right, well.
Gonna go for it?
Fuck it. Yeah. Okay, so it was physical and a step up. Okay, let's do it. Oh, I failed.
All right, so you pick up the mask and you're like really carefully, you stretch out your hand and you pick up the mask and you have it in your hands and you're pulling the mask up to, like, you know, maybe put in like a bag or something that you have. But you see underneath the mask, there's like a little pamphlet of, looks like old pages kind of wrapped together like a bundle, I guess you might say. I don't pamphlet, it's bad. It's a little bundle of papers. And you didn't know it was there. So you pick up the mask and it knocks the bundle of papers down on the ground. Let's see, is luck with you right now? I'll roll here. I'll roll like armor check for him. Actually, I'll let you roll. Roll a d12, and if you roll a 1 or a 2, he's gonna wake up.
4.
All right. You hear him kind of like shuffle at the sound, but you see now this little bundle of papers lying there. It's like on the ground, like right at your feet.
I'd like to scoop those up with the mask.
Okay. Yeah, you do.
And get out of there.
All right. And you make a quick escape. Henry, you've been watching sort of this beggar out on the street, you know, moving through the slop, through the trash of what people have thrown out their windows, like scooping up scraps, but nobody's been paying any attention to what's going on at the back of the abandoned tailor shop or the boarded up tailor shop. And the most startling thing that happens is Joyce returning from her burglary. And you notice, Henry, that she definitely has, like, you know, something like a bulge.
Did you get your new dress?
No, but you will be, so thank you. I appreciate that offer.
Break into a tailor shop with a busted dress and you come out with nothing.
Well, I mean, do I want to further upset Dee? There is a reason we're here, of course.
So what did you get?
Well, let us move further away from here, and we shall meet up with our companion, and perhaps she's certainly not keeping Simon occupied, or finding him. I can attest to that because he's in that building. But I'm sure she's doing something very important, and hopefully not proselytizing about the strangeness of the woods and the gods and whatever else she might be discussing today.
Well, you are quite talented. Let's leave.
Oh, well, flattery will get you everywhere.
All right, so you head back to the Green Man Inn. What have you been up to, Emma? Anything special, or are you just kind of waiting around?
Maybe I've just been listening to general rumours and moving about the inn, listening, but nothing really pervasive.
Yeah, I mean, you hear some traveler, or you hear rumors of travelers talking about being accosted by some strange beasts. The same kind of rumors that you were hearing the night before. But soon, Henry and Joyce come moving in, and Joyce looks to have, her dress looks a bit torn, but she does seem to have a bit of a radiant glow about her as she and Henry stride in.
Well, I'm at a back table, and I've probably got like 3 small drinks ready for us.
Okay. 3 of you
I
gather together. It's not that crowded in here, so I mean, it's perfectly easy to be relatively discreet.
Well, I looked up all the street and down again, and then I came in here and looked about the bar and the lounge, but it's just not here, I say. But I did get us a drink. Oh, what's happened to your dress?
You're muted.
Oh, Henry happened to it. Isn't that exciting?
Well,
Who knows what happens in these back alleys? Except Henry and I, apparently.
Yeah.
So I'll plunk down.
I smile.
Yeah, I'll just plunk down and pull out. I'll keep the mask hidden, but I will pull out the, the
bundle of papers.
The bundle.
Okay, so you do not bring out the mask.
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay, the bundle, it's like wrapped in a ribbon. You know, a somewhat frayed ribbon. Looks like it's been tied and untied many, many times. It's a stack of irregular, but small pages. Small enough that it could hide underneath a mask. So,
Zine size.
Zine, yeah. It's a...
All right, so what's on it?
They unbundle it, and you can see that, and I don't know if you speak Latin or Greek, but there are Latin and Greek passages on these pages, and there are various incantations, just at first glance.
A good find.
Yes.
I wonder where this Simon is then, if he's not here.
He is at his home, which we were just there.
All 3 of you make a supernatural challenge.
I passed.
I rolled a 2. Failed.
I've got a supernatural 8, so I'll be 8. 6.
Okay, so Emma and Joyce. Henry, it's all Greek to you. But Joyce and Emma, as you're kind of flipping through the pages, the 2 of you are drawn in on one that it just draws your attention, and it's an incantation, and looking at it, like, you think that's real magic, like that is a real incantation. Most of the rest of it is trash. It's hokey, it's fake magic, it's the kind of thing, who knows, but there's one that seems to be real magic. And do either of you speak, like, understand language? You can, understand Latin. You can speak incantations regardless, but do either of you understand Latin?
Yes. My character understands it from reading old Bibles. He's got Latin and Greek, I think.
I would say based on my affiliation, probably.
Okay. Then the 2 of you...
My thing actually says I've learned my mechanics from the Greeks, reading stuff from the Greeks.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. And the devices.
Unfortunately, this is in Latin rather than Greek. But this...
Well, let me just double check and make sure. Evidence and perception. Ooh, actually, I think my focus would allow me to understand what this is.
Okay. So Joyce and Emma, the 2 of you are kind of like, you're like, you see it and you're like, wow, okay, there's something to this one. Even though it looks as innocuous to the casual view as the others. But this is a sheet, and it's got Latin written on it. And it seems to be an incantation to... It is a sanctification incantation ritual, but it seems specifically meant to remove certain like lasting residual elements in a place of power, you might say.
Ooh.
So
Like the Abbey.
maybe like a place like the Abbey. Yeah, I think that describes it as well as you would understand it. Again, you're not experts at this stuff. It's all a bit that you're in a time of lack of knowledge.
No Google, huh?
There's no Google happening.
My orders, Solomon's. I'm druid to the Eternal Grove with Solomon's wisdom. What does that mean, Rob?
I don't know. I think it's kind of a narrative interpretation based on your own particular needs for your character. So I leave it to you. If you know, what does that mean for you? Would you say?
Well, I think Joyce's understanding based on her focus would be that this would allow dark elements in to a sacred place. I think she could pick up on that, that this would allow demons and fae and exactly what we're trying to fight. This would be...
Yes.
Her bells are ringing.
If your interpretation and mine is correct, it would seem that maybe Simon seeks to destroy any remaining vestiges of divine protection upon the place and turn its works for his own. And it did make me think, while I was here sitting, that if he's a tailor and he hasn't been working much and he wants cloths or furs, maybe he has been working, mutating animals in some way to get new and precious furs. He must have some way to sustain his wealth, but it is definitely something to do with the final perversion of this sacred altar, is it not?
I do believe so. But as for finding monetary wealth, you don't necessarily need any sort of proper means of doing so if you are into the darker elements of life or perhaps unlife. So I think that's a very interesting idea, though, Emma. Maybe you're right, though. Maybe he is creating animals to take to the furrier. That I'm not quite sure what you're getting at, actually.
Well, I was just thinking if I wanted an ermine coat, an ermine is quite small. If I could make an ermine the size of, say, a cow, and mix that.
You like this idea?
Then maybe he's onto something of a. Well, I don't know. It's just my mind wonders.
It does, and I think the fantastical ideas that you come up with are quite fascinating, and actually, strangely, you do seem to be correct some of the time.
So generous with that praise.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes you're right.
I mean, coming from Joyce, that is high praise.
All right, so what would you like to do? You definitely have this incantation. And you look through the rest of it, hoping for some other gem of some sort. Henry, you're able to pick up on a lot of the Greek stuff, and you're not certain, but none of it really seems. It seems like a lot of rubbish to you. I mean, particularly with your background, but none of it none of the rest of it seems to have any sort of real property. And actually, this is a lot of the way that things of supernatural nature are. They're kind of mixed in amongst a load of worthless things. So what would you like to do? You also still, of course, have the mask.
Well, we're supposed to be secret, aren't we? I say. We can't be getting all the peasants in a nice big group and going with a burning torch.
It's true, but I will be honest. After seeing what we saw the other night, I am definitely a lot more interested in being done with this and moving on. So let us act in haste.
We can't go to the church. I think we're on the domain of Henry Stronghands to give him a good bashing. Maybe.
Well, it would seem Henry does need something to tear apart.
Take out my pliers, start fiddling with them.
But I'm just thinking what the local witch hunter might say if he follows back through afterwards. What with strange things happening to begin with, one could all be on the way as well as us. So maybe we shouldn't bash him in his house. But we do know that he goes to the Abbey to do these foul things. We could catch him en route and there blame it upon the very monsters that he's creating. I say he has been gone missing to the creatures in the woods. But if he is of a foul domain, maybe he will control these creatures to attack us, defend himself. But I do not think we can act within the town itself, the village. I don't know what to.
All right, I'm going to let you all make an intellectual challenge because there's something you're not quite putting together. So I'm gonna have you all make an intellectual challenge because you kind of did something I didn't really entirely expect.
I missed with it too.
I passed.
I've got intellectual 6, so just roll my dice.
I would
3.
like to do a bio break though, if we could.
All right, I'll describe this and then we'll do a bio break. You figure that it's likely that Simon has, on occasion, said this very incantation inadvertently amongst all of the nonsense that he's defiled the altar with. And over time, that has weakened the power that the altar has. But you kind of figure that if he just doesn't do it anymore, it'll eventually kind of just get better.
Could I kind of copy it but put in a purification ritual instead?
Yeah,
slip it back to him.
You could possibly do that. That's a really clever idea.
So then he accidentally cleans what he's done. Or something, I don't know.
Yeah, you could do that. You could make slight alteration. I mean, it's like two sides of the coin. You know what I mean? So like, it's still the same coin. So it would take a little bit of work. But why don't we take a quick bio break, and then we'll come back on the other side.
Okay.
All right. So Emma, are you going to spend some time trying to work out this?
Yeah, I think so.
In fact, actually, if you wanted to, you could even add in an additional version amongst the Greek writings given Henry's expertise. But go ahead.
Why
and
don't we?
Go ahead.
Why don't we just not give it back to him? He can't do the incantations no more.
Yes, or he could do our work for us.
He'll, yeah.
But then he might fall back on his satire ally. I'm a bit worried about him. I get the impression he's a down the line kind of guy we might meet, and not something directly connected right now. As I saw him as like a puppet master type, which means he's probably connected across the array. So, best result I thought was trick him, which is in the very nature of what he's doing, being a trickster, into cleaning the things he's done, and like you say, maybe slipping one from the Greek writings and does something else. But how does that answer?
Yeah, we'll proceed with that.
We've got freaky creatures as well. But yeah, we should definitely look at the writings and look to them as one step at least, I think.
All right.
So, go ahead and make a supernatural roll.
Right, let me click on a second dice.
All of us, or just Emma?
Is Emma the one who is doing this? Or are you all trying to do it together?
I've got supernatural 8. So it's two guys.
I've done my portion.
If he wanted me to help with the Greek, I guess I'll need to roll.
All right. Yeah, go on ahead then.
Okay.
Sanctifying isn't Joyce's strong suit.
I got a 5.
Emma got a 3. Okay. The two of you do more than adequate job of falsifying documents.
Yeah.
And essentially creating an antidote for the problem to mix in with all the other meaningless incantations that are in the stack of papers. And you slip them amongst the stacks of paper. Now, you just need to get the stack back to Simon.
Yeah, and what's this dude got going on with his mask? Is that
Well, Joyce didn't take the mask out.
No, she didn't, to be fair, but I just wondered. Did she like glimpse it but go, oh no, we wouldn't look at it here, or did she just not show it?
Didn't show it to anybody.
Haven't.
Okay.
Oh, I would have shown it to Henry on the way out. Or no, maybe not.
Sure.
This does seem like a major thing that I should probably alert them to.
It's up to you.
So, well, although Joyce is not a team player, she is a team player unless she wants to face the wrath and consequences of Dee. So, a very casual conversational tone. So in addition to the pamphlet, there is also a mask of I don't know. I would say a tyke could wear it. It's a child-sized green man mask. She says that very quietly, but still kind of just casual. I'm not quite sure what to think of it, but I am certainly not going to bring it out here where prying eyes are allowed.
Well, thanks for revealing that, I say. And I
Oh, you know me. Just trying to assist my comrades, my friends.
Do I know anything about said mask? being
You go ahead and make
an
an intellectual challenge, yeah, and I'll give you a step up on that from your druidic order for sure.
Yeah, because I'm a druid. Okay, intellectual 6, so that steps up to 8. The 8, which is the same dice I just rolled. Oh, a 2.
Could I look at it and see if it's made of any weird materials? I have materials as a
Yeah, go ahead.
intellectual. I got it with a 4.
Get in. I'm a druid, but I've got no idea what this major piece of iconography.
This isn't my focus.
No, I don't know much about masks.
So yeah, you're not sure what it is.
Let me ask you, would the mask have anything to do with dark fae?
Yeah.
So then I based on my focus, I would know.
Well, you
Awesome.
can make a check, yeah.
All right, well, I would like to make a check.
I'll make you a step up. I'll give you an intellectual check, a step up.
Ooh, if I fail this one, I'm gonna be real sad. Top of my night. Oh, I passed. All right.
So can
Okay.
we change our tradecraft to maybe like help us out? Or do we have to stick with the kit?
Yeah, I was wondering about that also, Nick. Because
I'm going to be honest with you. You've essentially solved the mission. I mean, you haven't solved the problem. It's not better, but it's not going to, shit's not going to hit the fan. So I'm inclined to say no. And it's essentially what you want to do. But let me give Gretchen this mask information here, because this might be of real importance. So in pagan days, like prior to the Protestant Reformation, when Catholicism still ruled, because Catholicism was a little bit better at allowing of appropriating certain pagan activities.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one of those was yearly on 12th night, they would appoint one child as the honorary Lord of Misrule. Wow. And they would give the child a mask that mimicked the Green Man, who was also known as the Lord of Misrule, a mischievous fey creature, in spite of what people think when they think of the Green Man. And it was believed that powerful fey magics could be enacted on those days. And so they would offer sacrifices and homage to the Green Man on that night to appease him for the year. The last time that happened was several years ago at the Protestant Reformation, and it would have been about the time when Simon Brownstone was a child. So he likely still has the mask from the last of these incantations. And it's likely been quite some time since the Lord of Misrule has been appeased.
All right, well, I inform my companions. Upon closer examination, I do have some information that I am able to share. Then I'll go into the full details of blah, 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 blah. Have we noticed any children around?
Yeah, there's children in the town.
And are we talking human or animal sacrifices?
It was typically like animal sacrifices, and like they would sacrifice like food, you know what I mean? Like, so you
wheat,
put,
wine, mead, barrels.
So it wouldn't be like an animal in so much it would be like meat, you know, like they would sacrifice. It was a food sacrifice essentially, and usually in a big party.
Yeah.
What time of year is it right now?
The day before the 12th night.
Oh.
Do we need to appease this green man?
Is the town planning a party? Has there been any word of anything?
No.
Maybe that's what the animals are then, as sacrifices.
Is the party an essential part of it?
It's January 4th right now.
Right, but for the ritual of 12th night, is the party essential for the inner workings of the magic?
You think it's a lot of there's a lot of ceremony around one thing that's really important, and that's the mask and the ritual. So there's all this other stuff that happens that is all gotten incorporated into this, but really it's all about the mask and the ritual that you have.
Okay. God. Okay, and so the significance of the mask is the child is there, but nothing happens to the child, right?
Was he the child?
He was
the
mask.
But
he was the child. Yeah.
Like, oh God, I don't know, but we're supposed to be good Christians, so like we're not gonna put the mask on a kid, and are we? Does it have to be a child? Can it be Emma?
I'm not going down that vibe. I'm thinking so he was the last child that did the Lord of Misrule. He was the representative character of that. So maybe he's been possessed by him. I don't know. But the answer is
I will say this. You truly feel a bit out of your depth here. The mask is an object of power. You have the ritual. But none of you are experts on this.
Are we tempted to wear the mask and perform a cleansing ritual or something?
You could try.
So we could cleanse the pagan energy. But because the pagan energy might be disrupted, not only it might be that the Christian energy is fine at the altar and it's actually perverted somewhere else. Or
you feel like if the combination of the mask and that ritual specifically make it that you are cleansing out that particular influence from an area.
All right. Well,
do we need some sort of sacrifice?
You would typically need a sacrifice.
But a barrel of ale would be fine, or something like that. Probably.
It's been a couple of decades now, and the magic is going, you think, will probably require something a little bit stronger.
Simon? I mean, he has caused this and killed a lot of innocent people.
Are we judge, jury, and executioner?
When it comes to my life, yes. I tire of the D. I want to be away from him. I want to go back to my Smitty.
Isn't there a way for us to talk to the guy? Like, aren't we psychically connected?
So you have these medallions that essentially they're the Black Seal amulets.
Joyce wants to call home base, man. Check it. What the fuck?
Look, we can't go. I
I
think
agree.
making an overarching decision such as killing someone is maybe like the big boss has to approve that shit.
You believe that it operates in a one way, if at all. Rumors are that that Dee might be able to hear you, but that would be it.
So, what are our choices then? We've got a choice. We can sneakily put back the ritual. We could just not give him the ritual. We could try to do something with a cleansing and the mask and cleanse out both the areas. We could physically accost or challenge, confront Simone. And this is also the 12th night, so he's going to be up to something, isn't he? He's going to be trying to get the boogie on for definite. So, I don't know what to say, but that's the choices, it seems to me.
Have we, now being part of the D sanction, were we given a set of rules? Like, do we know if homicide is allowed in certain circumstances?
The implication that was given to you was that don't get caught. That's essentially the rules.
I could also,
solve the problem through any means necessary. If you get caught, you're totally disavowed. Nobody's going to be there to help you.
All right. Well, then let's go commit an act of murder.
Well, the sacrifice would have to take place not tonight, but the following night. How do you want to, in the interest of time, how do you want to move towards that? Why don't you tell me what your plan is here?
I'm lost. I'm not lost, but I understand what's happening, but I just don't know what to do. So I'm willing to back any player plans, basically. I liked Henry's idea of just bashing him a bit, to be honest. Like actually grabbing him and confronting him. Maybe we could wait. Maybe we could know he's going to be at the ritual. Wait for him at the ritual. Catch him at it. Bash him. Get a final confession. And then use him as a sacrifice and cleanse the area.
But we don't really need to cleanse the area. We just need to do the ritual and the ritualistic killing, right? So we could technically do this in the tailor shop that's boarded up, where he is earlier or currently quite prone.
Well, we do have the woman as the witness. We'd have to kill her too, but I'm not into that. And she has nothing to do. She has nothing to do with it.
Can you hit her gently enough to just knock her out?
I'm not really into killing Simon, but if that's the only way to solve it, then yeah. I'd rather convert him to our cause or trick him onto another track. But if we must confront him and do away with him to complete this endeavour, then so be it.
Well, we could also allow him to give himself over rather than murder him.
So I was thinking maybe you could do your little bit of wording in there and he could sacrifice himself.
Exactly.
And our hands are clean.
Yeah, maybe he plans to sacrifice something.
Yep.
Well, could be the woman. But now we have everything, and he's still at the house.
Yeah, you're kind of feeling a little pressure because you don't know when he's going to wake up.
I think he's going to immediately look for his mask.
Choose then. Somebody choose what to do. I'm beset by choice.
Is the mask like, would a good Christian look at this mask and be like, oh? Or would we think it was some sort of just child's costume?
Well, it's more intricate than a child's costume. It's a nicely carved wooden mask. It has a bit of power to it. I mean, like if you've ever been in like a museum and seen like, you know, sort of ritual masks for like a culture that you're not particularly familiar with on a personal level, like think of it like that. Like they're not, like they don't look like toys. You know what I mean? Like it looks like something important, but it's not.
How far into the shop was the table?
How far into the shop was like a table at all, or the table?
Was the table that I picked up the mask and the pamphlets?
It's pretty far into the shop because like when you went through the back, like it wasn't in the back room. It was like in the room. About, I would say, middle of the way through the house.
So middle of the way, and so there's still the front area that's boarded up.
Yeah, the front area is still boarded. Well, but he went in through the front door. You saw him do that.
Right. But perhaps if a large burly man were to start banging on the door to try to get someone's attention while the woman slipped into the back to deposit the stuff, it might be.
I could distract him while you slip it
well,
back
then,
in there.
Then, Mr. Cowl, perhaps you should damage your coat.
It's actually already damaged from the work I do, so.
I mean, secretly, my character probably covets the mask because she's a bit druidy and is secretly researching the druids. But she will look opportunity to acquire it. But if the players are going to slip it back in, that's fine. I don't see what the solve is, though. How we solve it. What it is to solve.
Okay, so are we coming together here to decide to get a bit murdery? This decision cannot be I do whatever someone else says. We must be on the same page with this.
Yeah.
Or not at all.
I say we slip him the ritual and the mask, let him do what he's gonna do. And if he's out there sacrificing another person, we stop him and punish him for that and sacrifice him instead. Just do the old switcheroo.
That's not a bad choice. Yeah. Slip it, let me know what he's doing.
That way we can say, hey, at least we punished him for, doing all this crap.
Because we've changed the ritual anyway, haven't we, Rob?
Well,
without writing.
We changed a part.
Yeah, you did.
To clean it instead of, yeah.
So well, no. So if you change, yeah. You're changing the ritual. Well, you have created a different ritual for him to do.
Okay.
But what you really need him to do is to do the original ritual. Or what you really need to have done is do the original ritual while wearing the mask. And perhaps invoking a sacrifice.
So we have taken a turn here that I guess we can't go back on now that we've changed.
No, I mean you can. No problem.
Yeah, if we know what we changed. Okay, then. Let's do that then. I say we go with Henry Stronghand's plan. Slip it back, turn up, let him do the ritual, and then bump him for it. All
right. Then let's do it.
All right.
And we'll go and try to distract and get that everything back to his possession.
I will give her a few moments to be ready, and then I will bang on the door. Here, is there a tailor in this town?
On the front door?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You hear from the other side like a groan from the other side of the door.
I bang a little louder. I say, is there a tailor in this town? I am in need of their service.
I'm
can
closed.
pay handsomely.
I'm closed.
All right,
You see, Joyce, you can see that he's gotten up and he's like at the door. He's not opening the door. You can see he's naked. He's standing at the door, like kind of yelling back at the door, through the door to Henry. The woman's lying in bed, kind of like she's propped herself up on one arm, looking towards him at what's going on. She seems a little bit disquieted by the situation, but both of them have their back to you.
All right, well then I'm
Go
just
ahead.
going to move quickly while Henry's being distracting. Just
This
get
could
that shit
benefit
back
us
in.
both. I am a blacksmith by trade. If you help me, I will help you. I know you need tools repaired. This is a tailor shop. I know you need scissors sharpened.
All right, so you hear like a lock turn and the door opens. You drop off the things, Joyce, no problem whatsoever. Well, go ahead and make no, I'm going to say you can just do it. That's a good distraction. He opens the door and he sort of pulls a blanket up over his loins and goes, now I tell you, we're closed today and I don't need anything that you've got to offer. Get out of here, you scoundrel.
Be that way then. Take a bath while you're at it. Disgusting.
How dare you? Be gone.
I turn around and go.
He shakes his
all
head and
right.
closes the door. All right. So you adequately do that. Are you guys okay with me narratively moving the story forward to the?
Yes.
Okay. So this night passes. Maybe you watch Simon, keep an eye on him, just to see what's going on. The ritual is not taking place tonight because 12th night is tomorrow evening. So you let the night pass by. Nothing particularly untoward happens. He does pick up another different woman, and he does his same routine, but nothing particularly different happens. On 12th night, however, you notice that he's acting a bit more strangely. He also seems a bit more sober as he approaches the altar, or as where you kind of, is your plan, I guess, to like kind of show up, follow him, and do all of that sort of again?
I think so.
He definitely seems more sober and more urgent. He also is like clutching a bag at his side, and he's moving along with. And he also seems more sexually aggressive, I would say. Well, not that the woman is opposing him really, but just more aggressive. And when she finally kind of passes out and he gets up to do his rituals of transforming the altar in the way that he does, he moves over to the bag you saw, and he opens it up and he pulls out the stack of papers, which you can see, and he carefully goes through them actually and seems to pull out like the one that you all sort of recognize as you're looking through this window opening. And he sets it to the side, and he carefully sets in the grass next to it. He carefully sets down the mask that you see. But he also pulls out this like long, well-sharpened knife, and lies it in the grass next to it. And he completely disrobes, and he ties the mask on his face. And it looks strange because it's small on his face. Like, it looks odd and kind of disquieting on his face as he straps it to his head with the ribbon. He kneels down, and he has the knife in his hand as well. And he kneels down next to the woman and kind of just like looks down at her, lays a hand gently on her, make sure that she's seemingly making sure that she's asleep. Then he kind of shakes her a little bit, and she doesn't seem to like awaken. He goes back over to where he was, and you're all watching this, and feel free to interject at any moment. And he goes and picks up the piece of paper that he pulled off to the side with the incantation on it, and sets it on top of the altar, using the blade to sort of weigh it down. And then he goes back and picks the woman up and lets the cover fall from her, exposing her nudity, as he goes to lay her in the sheen of the moonlight in front of the altar that sits in the courtyard.
Joyce is going to look over at Henry and Emma and not saying anything, but making motions of, well, clearly.
Yeah, I've took out my like evil bone with my twine on, and I'm like looking at him, preparing to like snap his hand, my spell, or his wrist or something. I'm preparing to like fucking tap him.
Evil bone.
Yeah, I could also do a clap, and it's a distraction or whatever. So I'm getting ready to distract him. I feel we should just, I whisper, let him do the ritual. When he stabs at her, we jump and take him out.
But don't let him kill her though.
Okay.
That's obvious, but I don't. She could. Hey, if he kills her first, sacrificed. Still done.
I shake my head, really looking.
He holds the ritual. He picks up the knife, and he takes the blade and he drags the blade across his wrist, and you can see this like blood starts like pouring down his hands, and he takes and I mean, like, it looks like bad, like it's bleeding heavy from his wrist. And then he takes the knife and he cuts down his other wrist, and you can see the ritual sitting on top of the stone, and he puts his hands forward so his back is to you, but you can see the blood is like pouring down, and it's pouring onto the woman who's lying in front of the altar stone. And he begins to say the ritual, but he's saying it in reverse. You hear the words are sounding strange, like it takes a second. At first you're hearing like this like this strange sound coming from him, but then you like kind of put it together, like he's saying the ritual in reverse. He's not saying the ritual as it's written there.
So we need to stop him then.
What do you want to do?
I'll go.
Yeah. I could make like I said, I can clap And it says a roar, rumble, or crash, distract or flinch. Maybe I can make the top of the buildings rumble down on him.
Oh, that's a good idea. Now, what do you want to do, Emma? You broke your bone.
Yeah, I like go so he can't hack with the knife.
How does that work?
It's the 5 of spades or something. It breaks, addles, it cripples, snaps, or addles. 5 of diamonds.
Okay. And what about you, Joyce? What do you want to do?
I have nothing from a distance that I can do, so I'm going to allow my companions to see how this starts panning out and maybe have one foot out the door.
I think I might have to snatch up that mask and complete the ritual then, and he has to be sacrificed then instead. Is that what I'm thinking?
I think he's sacrificing himself.
Yeah, like he looks like he's gonna. Doesn't look like he's gonna survive this. I mean, he took the blade and dug deep into his arms, and the blood is pouring out of his wrists.
Maybe he wants to become the Green Man.
Onto the woman that's lying in the grass in front of the altar, or the stone in front of the altar.
Joyce, maybe you could save the woman then, pull her out of the way, and I'll snap his hand then or whatever, and I might pay Henry to do his clap.
Yeah, go ahead and do your roll a supernatural check, Emma. First, because Henry's is more, I think, going to be a little bit more impactful. So I want to start with you, Emma.
Okay, I got supernatural 8. So 3.
All right, so you hear this snapping sound, and he kind of like jerks. And the ritual sort of falters a little bit, but he manages to just kind of keep going forward. Like he's in agony. You can even hear it in his voice. Like, and
I want to do something crazy.
Oh, well, let's let Henry go, and then you can. Yeah, wild card. You'll be the third.
What do I roll for that?
Supernatural.
That's a 4. Missed with a 2.
You do still have your fortune.
Okay, how do you use that? Roll again?
You just get to roll again. Yeah, you use your
fortune.
You
get I
to
will
roll
use
again.
the fortune. Oh, big 1.
So you make this loud boom, and as the loud boom goes off, and you all hear it, you hear this like creaking sound, and you look up, and you see one of the pillars of the building that you're in collapses. The sound, it was just fragile, and there's a loud sound, and it just disrupts it in the pillar of the building, and it goes falling down. What are you doing, Joyce?
Well, I will have already started moving before.
Yeah, that's why I'm giving you a chance to declare your action, because you'd be doing simultaneous.
I feel as if there is a transfer of power happening to the woman who is passed out, and she's actually more key to this now. So I'm going to pull out my dagger and go try to kill her. Slit her throat.
All right, Emma and Henry make physical challenges here to see if you can avoid the rubble.
Physical.
Mm-hmm. And if you have any skills that would relate to dodging out of the way of rubble.
Yes, I use my natural history to dodge into a place where there might be trees that would take the fall. No, okay.
I don't think I have anything.
I got a physical 4. Oh my god, I'm going to be crushed by a falling stone.
I got a 4.
All right, Henry, you dodge out of the way.
A 4? A 4?
Okay, both of you manage to run out of the way, but that way is now blocked. You'll have to run out of the front and down through the alley. You can't see anything. I believe you. You don't need to ever. If you cheat in RPGs, it's on you. I don't.
Yeah,
I was stone dead.
Okay, Joyce, you go running You actually, I'm gonna just say you kind of like everything that's going on. You quickly, the ceiling begins to fall, and you quickly climb through the window before the wall collapses, and find yourself sort of stumbling to your feet on the other side in the courtyard, where Simon seems to be bleeding to death as he's saying this ritual. And it seems like he's coming to the end of the ritual as he falls to his knees. He's just kind of like swaying back and forth. And at this point, you can tell that he's re-saying the ritual. Like he's already gone through it once. But he's like kind of leaning, and the blood is just kind of swaying back and forth, and the blood is draining from him onto the body.
I'm gonna go try to deliver a death blow to her.
So you see, like you start running up, and you can see this sort of like the same kind of green energy that you saw in the dream a couple days ago. You see it's like kind of crackling around her body. You can see it, like, and you see her eyes are just sort of like flickering a little bit, and the blood, which was like draining down in a seemingly haphazard way, it's almost moving in this almost lifelike way to kind of totally cover her skin, like all over, like it's moving like down her whole body, and you rush up to try to stab her. Go ahead and make a physical. Actually, go ahead and make an unraveling roll first for what you're saying.
Okay. So I need to roll. Don't roll a 1 or a 2 for unraveling.
I believe that's right.
Okay, I rolled a 7, and I have a D8.
Okay, you are not unraveling then. You managed to. I've been kind of forgetting unraveling. You managed to hold yourself together. Now make a physical challenge to see if you can stumble over there and try to stab.
What if it was? Oh yeah, I guess it wouldn't be supernatural. Could it be supernatural?
It's a physical challenge. You're trying to stab her just right.
Yes. Oh, I got a 4 out of 4. All right.
Okay, you rush down to stab, and your hand is coming down, and one of her hands reaches up and grabs you by the wrist, grabbing your hand, and you're looking down, and you just see like these eyes just open up, and they're just these pupilless white eyes, and the face begins to transform into sort of this like leafy green wooden like features start to like move down the whole body, and you're looking at it, and the wrist is, the other arm isn't quite transformed yet, but you can see like the wrist is like this twisted, rooty wooden arm. It's like got you held, and you look down and you push your weight as heavy as you can, and you stab the blade deep into the creature's chest. And you hear, all of you, in fact, the other two of you, even though you're kind of running around the edge, you kind of run around the corner, you can see into the courtyard, and you hear this primordial scream emanate from an echo throughout the courtyard, louder than could possibly be coming from this creature. And all of you kind of, and you, Henry, and you, Emma, you kind of just see this little bit of this strange transformation. And then you blink, Joyce, and you see the blade sticking out of the woman's chest. And you see now that blood that seemed to have coated her all over is now just in drops over her body, as though it had just dripped from Simon's wrists, and her face transforms back into peasant woman that Simon had picked up, sort of dark curls, this sort of look of anguish on her face. The blade is just sticking up from her naked breast, right in the breastplate, right in the center of her chest, where you stabbed it into her heart. And you could see that Simon's last ebb of life, his eyes are flickering. He looks up at you. He mouths silently the word, "Why?" And then his body collapses over hers. And the two bodies lie in front of you. No evidence that something supernatural had actually happened. Just two dead bodies. Your hand lifting from the bloody dagger that's in the woman's chest.
Because it had to be done. That's why.
Say we leave this foul place. I'm tired of it.
Let's go home. I'll grab the mask.
Oh, you're closest, aren't you? Okay.
Yes.
I look as you pick up the mask, and I'll back off. I'll go.
Emma,
Just stick the blade in his hand.
You do see the ritual, though, is sitting up on top of the stone.
Okay, I'll gather that then.
Okay. So grab the mask. What about the knife?
Stick it in his hand for evidence that maybe he killed her and then killed himself.
Does the dagger look unique? Does it look special in any way?
No.
Give it a once.
No.
Okay.
Does not look special. Oh, you don't give it a once over unless you pull it out of her chest. It's like literally stuck
Of course.
in the chest.
We'll just leave it there. I do have a knife we could replace it with if you really want it.
No, let's just go then.
Okay. Let's get out of here before those foul creatures come back. I don't know if they're gone yet or not.
Oh, yes. My apologies. You hear this, in addition to that inhuman scream, or that primordial scream that you heard come from the woman's mouth, yet not from her at all. You heard the sound of all these creatures echoing in the woods, screams of dying agony just echoing around, the last calls of these beasts. And all goes quiet once more. Sort of the still of death, the only thing in the air. And the three of you fleeing the crime scene, quickly leaving under the cover of night your sort of dark path. There's a slight breeze on the wind. There's a slight wind as you step out of the courtyard. You kind of hear it moving through the trees as the sounds of normal birds and other things seem to return to nature. But then you hear this little sound. You're not sure if it was real or not, but you all kind of look at each other as if you all heard it. Sounds of these pipes playing, echoing through the woods. Or were they? Or was it just the sound of your imagination as you made haste away from the sight of what looks to be a murder? 2 murders, maybe, that you were involved in.
But as we leave, Joyce will hand the mask to Emma, and she'll say, "I will call upon a favor later."
I nod honourably and wink and slip the mask in with the ritual to look at later. And I look back and listen for the pipes and look a bit wild-eyed and batshit. So that's generally my mood.
And so ends The Monk's Cowl, the published adventure for the Dee Sanction, actually from the Dee Sanction Adventures book.
RPGs and Baby Makes 3 is a production of Gretchen and Rob sitting on their couch. Email the show at rpgsandbabymakes3@gmail.com. You can find more episodes on Podbean, Spotify, and iTunes, as well as on our free Patreon page at patreon.com/RPGs and Baby Makes 3.